This HOA Karen lies about a position of power, has cars towed, and then says the cops are lying with their rules. How can they shut her down? This story is posted by Proctologist. This incident occurred approximately July 2023. I moved into a lovely townhome community located in Pasco County, Florida, and immediately took notice of the parking situation. A family resident member's vehicle received a sticker on the driver's window stating illegally parked, with the added threat of being subsequently towed. The vehicle did not block traffic, nor did it impede the road throughway whatsoever. In fact, 95% of the vehicle was on or over the driveway. When we politely asked why in a private Facebook group, we were immediately informed via an authoritative response from the group's self-appointed moderator, whose words spoke on behalf of the HOA. We have had to agree to certain rules by the county or we will be fined again. The moderator continued, all the tires have to be on the pavers. After we responded for clarification, the moderator barked. The rules state that all 4 tires, and actually the rear end of the car, need to be on the pavers. She apparently appears to speak on behalf of the HOA, did not make the rules, and actually no part of the vehicle can be on the street. If we do not comply with the rules, then the HOA is the one that is fined $5,000 per incident, which is then passed on to the owners. We cannot afford to do that. As an aside, I have resided in this same Florida county for over 20 years and have never heard of this excessive rule and law. Hence, I reached out to a few friends who are Pasco Sheriff, as well as the Pasco Code Compliance, all of which irrefutably stated that the moderator's words were 100% false and uncorroborated, nor is the slightly protruding vehicle a county offense. I captured screenshots of the discussion with the moderator as appeared on our private Facebook group, that is, prior to the moderator deleting the entire discussion and blocking our account from further interaction. Talk about suppression of our rights to free speech and our qualification as residents to question policy per the threat that she made against us by someone claiming to represent the HOA. I have reported her full name, place of business, a RE/MAX realtor, and the discussion to the Sheriff's Department. This community of townhomes offers very small driveways, enough for one vehicle only. Many residents, like us, utilize their garage for storage, water softener equipment, and so on, and therefore cannot park inside the equally tiny garage. Moreover, their limited guest spaces are near always unavailable. The bottom line is that this excessive parking policy seems to negatively impact the morale of the community, other than a few people who seem bothered by otherwise trivial matters. I've spoken with numerous neighbors who stated that their grief with this excessive driveway rule and would like to see it amended and relaxed. We spoke today with a neighbor on our street whose car was towed after only 20 minutes passed, unbeknownst to them, at a cost of $200. Why is a community spokesperson spreading disinformation? More importantly, why is the moderator spreading disinformation? The Sheriff's Department was quick to say that nearly all HOAs lie, playing good cop, bad cop, blaming their department for the HOA's often excessive and nonsensical policies set by a few Karens. In our case, the Sheriff's Department was not in agreement or support of her authoritative comments. In fact, the active LEO with whom I spoke stated that the sheriffs do not ticket and citation for such parking matters. In fact, they would ticket for a blocked fire hydrant, but even in that situation, the ticket would go to the owner of the vehicle and not the HOA, as misrepresented by the moderator. Additionally, their largest, most aggressive fine is $500, not $5,000 as stated by the moderator. They concluded stating, no one has the right to tow your vehicles, especially claiming that it's a county violation. And, most importantly, the Sheriff Department said the HOA cannot supersede county laws and ordinance. In the days that followed, the moderator of the private Facebook group threatened and carried out the threat to kick members from her own private group if they contribute to these horror stories. Moderators, especially those representing a community such as she, self-appointed, should remain unbiased and professional. Unfortunately, the contrary has occurred. Some examples of this ludicrous policy from our open to the public community roads serving as proof that the residents want and need to park this way, and in doing so does not whatsoever impede traffic. Yes, it may cause a small few people to experience hurt feelings and require safe space recuperation, but by no means were any county laws broken. Update from OP, replying to a comment that says, "Nothing stops you from starting an HOA Facebook page, unofficial also of course, and inviting your neighbors." OP says, "That is precisely what occurred as a result of the mod's bullying bias. The mod is a self-professed volunteer, i.e. a neighborhood resident, Karen, who demonstratively leverages her role as the private group's admin to bully residents, renters and owners alike, into submission by 1. Falsely blaming policy enforcement on the local sheriff's department, 2. Removing community members' right to question and or politely protest policy by blocking them from her private group and deleting their inquiries, and 3. Literally threatening and executing removal of her group's joined members, merely for joining a new public group that was created for the community's residents to openly and without bias share their concerns, insight, and so on. When we speak directly with neighbors, we have yet to meet a single one who agrees with the overreaching parking rules, such as one's vehicle and its entire chassis must sit 100% vertically over the driveway pavers or be fined and or towed. Neighbors have to play musical cars and or squeeze their vehicles into the equally small garage and driveway. Who designs a home with a single car driveway? The HOA's excessive policy only adds insult to injury. We respect laws. When they seem outside of logic and reason, they should be open to revisit. We should show zero respect towards bullies and keyboard cowards. Rules aren't meant to be permanent. Look at the world in which we live today, for example. Open, healthy debate is what makes America great, and precisely what a certain party is working overtime to remove from citizens. Shutting down free speech is exactly what the go-to is in this mess in the first place. We refuse to allow it to infiltrate our neighborhood and domicile. Rude, inconsiderate neighbors. Appreciate any help or thoughts. Posted by Limp Initial 6478. I, a 27 female, and my boyfriend, 27 male, recently bought our first home in a townhome community. It's a nice starter home with 2 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and a decently sized backyard for our 2 dogs. We live on the bottom floor of our 2-story building, and since we moved in, our living situation has been quite unpleasant. Don't get me wrong, we love having a place to call our own, but our neighbors that live in the unit directly above us are the most inconsiderate, unhygienic, miserable people that I've ever come across. I didn't even know that there are people who exist with such little self-awareness and regard for others. Here are most of the instances that have happened that made me despise them. First off, they are heavy smokers of both legal and illegal substances. Now, I don't care if people smoke, to each their own, but most days it smells like they're hotboxing their house. The smoke seeps through our bathroom vents and through our windows, fills our house to the point that I feel like I'm secondhand smoking. I'm pretty sure they are not supposed to be smoking in their house per the community's house rules, plus there are designated smoking areas. On top of the smell, we constantly find cigarette butts, ashes, and lighters in our backyard and in front of our front door. They have a small balcony that sits right above our back porch and a foyer that extends above our entrance. They also disgustingly cough a lot, like all hours of the day, and spit off of their overhang onto what is our property. Secondly, on top of being heavy smokers, they're also heavy drinkers. On at least 2 occasions, the man has dropped a beer bottle off of his foyer and it cracked right in front of our door. We have a Ring camera and caught him picking up a few larger pieces of glass, but leaving the rest. We ended up cleaning it because I was worried that my dogs would step on the glass or that we could be the ones to get fined by the HOA if they saw broken glass in front of our entrance. They also have a dog. I don't blame the dog for anything. He seems like a nice dog, but he is a pit bull terrier mix and I have not once seen them take him for a proper walk. I always hear him running wild upstairs, probably from all the pent-up energy of being stuck inside all day. We have found large chunks of bones in our backyard from their dog, most likely pushing it over the balcony, and once found a chicken bone with ants all over it in our backyard, which my dogs easily could have eaten or led to an infestation in our house. I've also seen them let their dog out to use the bathroom, mind you, off-leash, which is also against the house rules, and there have been at least a couple of instances where the dog pees right on my car, since we all share a common parking area. Again, I don't blame the dog, but I witnessed the owner just standing there watching his dog pee for a good 10 seconds on my back bumper while not saying anything. While this doesn't necessarily hurt or put anyone at risk, it's still terribly annoying. The reason we haven't gone out of our way to talk to them about how their behavior and way of living is affecting us mostly is because we are very non-confrontational people, but also we have heard our other neighbors who live directly next to them confront them, which led to yelling matches and cops being called on multiple occasions. Even after the back and forth and the cops showing up, their behavior doesn't change, and if they don't get even the slightest sense of self-awareness from their next-door neighbors bringing it up, I doubt a couple of 20-something-year-olds asking them to contain their waste will make any sort of difference. We're also afraid that if we speak up and let it be known that we have a problem with them, they might do something to retaliate. We have cameras that capture our front and back entrances, but because they're directly above us, we wouldn't be able to catch them in the act of actually dropping stuff on our property. We've taken pictures of their waste on our property and sent it to our HOA to make sure we have a record of it, but we have not once received a response from them with any sort of direction to remedy the situation. That's why I'm writing here to see if anyone might have any sort of idea of what we can do to get this to stop, since we're probably going to be living here for at least another 6 to 8 years. The top comment basically says if they've already taken pictures, send them to the HOA, talk to the manager, and really there's nothing else they can do. And he says, and look, I know it's not easy doing anything out of fear of retaliation, and because you have to live so close to them, but if the other neighbors have taken issue, then they're not alone. Talk to the manager directly, show them the pictures, absolutely call the cops, and keep calling them until they actually do something about it. Not Your Trash Can, posted by Extra Entertainer 986. I promise more stories, so here's another one, also during the county fair. This one's just weird. It was a pretty mild summer, so the turnout was higher. Go figure, people didn't want to be boiled to death while trying to eat a piping hot funnel cake in the middle of the day. Who knew? I'm going about my day doing normal Saturday chores, lawn and grocery shopping. I get back to and from the store, and by some miracle, no one is blocking my mailbox. Good. My mailman is incredibly lazy and won't approach if a car is too close. Also stories for a different sub, and no one's in my drive yet. With things put away in the house, I go outside. My trash cans, recycling, green waste, and general garbage are out on the road because for some reason it makes sense for the busiest street to have pickup on days that events are consistently happening on it. I'm surprised to find the trash has all been picked up before noon, so I should be able to get them all pulled back to my house before there's a lot of people trying to use them. The fairground literally has over 100 trash cans set up or someone tries to move them to park, which according to city code they aren't allowed to do, but again, the cops in this town, they don't care at all. I was wrong. I'm walking out my door as a car pulls up in front of my bins. A dad, 2 boys, and a grandpa get out. I'm not even 5 feet away, and this old guy had to have seen me. He walks to the back of their SUV, opens my green waste bin, and tries to throw a mostly full Gatorade bottle in. I yelled, "Excuse me, please don't throw your garbage in my bins." The old man turns to me, puts his hand to his ear, and goes, "What?" like he's hard of hearing. I'm not deterred by this because, unless he's colorblind and mostly visually impaired with dementia, he knows better. I repeat myself, "Please don't put your garbage in there." The dad of the boys calls out, "Come on, Dad, let's go." Magically, the old man's hearing is perfect. His son was further away, still by the front of the SUV, and the old fart says, "It's not that big of a deal," and he walks away, bottle in hand. Sir, why did you need to throw away a mostly full bottle? Why couldn't you have just carried it another 30 feet to the public bin across the street? And why did you go for the green waste bin when the garbage can is next to it? Great way to start my afternoon. Later that afternoon was my first entitled Parker. I go to look out my front window, trying to decide if it's worth it or not to go over and get a cupcake from one of the stands that I really like. Lo and behold, there's a weird car in my drive. I ask my neighbors, not theirs. They thought we got a new one. They tell me to call the police because that's what a cop told them to do. We could get in trouble for any damage to the vehicle and a towing company could charge us since it's our property. Being 22 at the time, I accepted this truth because adulthood comes with a lot of rules, so okay. I go back to my house to call the cops. As I'm going in my door, I hear the car start and turn to see a gaggle of women getting in. I'm already annoyed, so I yell, "Hey, this is private property." The driver pops back out of her car and says, "We weren't even here that long." Because that somehow matters, I decided that I'm not going low, so I just go back inside and tell my husband that night that I'm slashing tires from now on. He looks me dead in the eye and asked, "You want them to leave, so why would you make it so that they can't leave?" Realizing what I just said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do then, okay? It really should not be that hard to respect other people's property. To anyone thinking, well, I'd rather not litter, so that's why I use random strangers' trash cans. Do you realize that you can just hold on to your crap and not litter in general? Or, if you're that desperate to throw something away, you can knock on someone's door. I've had people, just on a normal day, walk all the way down my driveway and into my lawn to get to my trash can to throw something away. That's just obnoxious. I know it's tempting, but they could have just held on to it. What would have you done? HOA vandalizes my property, but I'm not even part of the HOA. Click the video on your screen to find out what happens next and the fallout of it all, and I'll see you there.